Almost 2 years ago, when Rav Shmuel and I went to Lakewood to seek the advice and support of Rabbanim in this new endeavor, everyone told us that our first stop has to be Rabbi Yossi Bitton. Especially since we were trying to find Sephardi Avrechim, everyone said, before you go anywhere, you need to meet with Rabbi Bitton. Rabbi Bitton warmly welcomed us and listened to our with great interest into our dream. Very quickly, Rabbi Bitton told us that he too shared our aspirations for strengthening the Sephardi community and through the learning of a full-time Kollel, which only a full-time Kollel can adequately provide. Rabbi Bitton wasted no time in offering to generously partner with us in our holy endeavor. We are greatly honored by the presence of Rabbi Bitton's guest, Rabbi Moshe Tusia from Mexico City, who came at the request of Rabbi Bitton. We're also honored to have Mrs. Bitton here as well, and it's a true kavod to ask Rabbi Bitton to share with us words of Torah.
ברשות ראשי ישיבה, הרב קושקרמן, ראש הכולל, חברי הכולל, all the guests. It was mentioned before that when they came to Lakewood to ask about making this Kollel here in Atlanta, their first stop was by us. I'd like to begin to expound who am I and what am I doing here. We read in the parasha how Moshe Rabbeinu was the leader of Kollel Yisrael and one who took Kollel Yisrael through Yetziat Mitzrayim. That is in the last 40 years of Moshe Rabbeinu. The question is, we don't know so much about how Moshe Rabbeinu himself grew up. Torah doesn't tell us so much in the parasha about his first 80 years. There's only 3 points, 3 stories about Moshe Rabbeinu which are mentioned. The first one is Vayar b'sivlotam, he saw their suffering. Or we know Rashi says Natan enav v'libo, he saw they were suffering with his eyes. It's not enough just to see. He also put his heart and tried to feel the people suffering in Mitzrayim. Then he sees there's a Yehudi who's being hit by another Jew, and he hurts him, and he tells him off, Lama takerecha, why do you hit your friend? And the third story which we find is when all the Goyim, all the pastors of Yitro, they were there with their animals, and they needed to drink, have some water. Vayar, Vayoshian, he went and saved them and helped them to give them to drink. And the question is, the Torah only mentions us 3 stories about Moshe Rabbeinu, what made him till he was the age of 80. What are these 3 stories? What's the common denominator? The Saba Mikelm says that this is one of the most important midot that a Jew has to acquire. And it's one of the most important midot that from there a person is able to learn Torah. It's what we call noseh ba'olim chavero, to together feel, but not just to feel sometimes when he's seeing, but to truly feel the other person's pain and the other person's worried and the other person's obligation, and to feel and try to help him. Noseh ba'olim chavero. From there it comes when a person, for example, is sick, you go to visit him. Or lo alenu, when a person passes away, we go to his levaya. That's also under Sibal M'Chavero. But there's one part of Noseh B'Olam Chavero which sometimes ends up being a bit harder. It's easy, two people are learning together, to be able to listen to other person's divrei Torah and to try to encourage each other. When it comes to someone comes, knocks on your door and says, we need help to go and build a Makom Torah, a Kollel, recognition you're not going to get. Cover is not going to be too much. And the check is very high. As we know, Kollelim are the most expensive endeavors there is around. And for a person to realize, to be noise ba'olam chaveroi, when it comes to Kollelim, that's one of the hardest things that there is. About 15 years ago, had a siyata d'shmaya. I was learning at the time in Lakewood Yeshiva, and I realized that the Sfaradim need in their own communities to have Kollelim. Kollel just means people are sitting and learning. Kollel is what turns over the cities. If you go to any tiny town city, if you go to Montreal, Chicago, LA, Toronto, any city you're going to go, you ask them what turned over the communities, is a local Kollelim they have there. The impact of the Kollelim, the Yungalites sit and learn all day and all night, is what changes every community. Is what elevates the spirits in the community. The change is only going to come through having Kollelim and Yungalites in the Kollel. And looking around on the map of the United States and Canada, how many Kollelim do the Sfaradim have? Baruch Hashem, we're lucky we have a lot of shuls. You can go to areas like in New York, in Queens, they can have 50, 60 shuls as Sfaradim. You can go to Montreal, I was there last week, 40 shuls as Sfaradim have. How many of them have Kollelim? My good friend Mr. Tusio came from Mexico, inspired us. He's been a pioneer and one of the driving force in Mexico for the Kollelim there. Any shul you go into there, not one, not two, there's over 20 shuls. You're not a shul if you don't have a Kollel. The Kollel is what turns over the communities. And a shul is not just enough to have people come to daven, you learn half an hour a day. By the presence of the Kollel, that half an hour a day that the Baal Bayit is going to put in, is going to turn it over. And by seeing that, I said, Hashem should give us siyata d'shmaya to try. And when people come and knock on my door, and in the past few years, Baruch Hashem, we were able to open up in Montreal, in Toronto, and in Queens, and in Atlanta, any Sephardi community who needs, we're here to help them. Because we have to be noise ba'olam chaveroi. Noise ba'olam is not just to go visit the psik and to go to the Levias. Noise ba'olam is go helping communities to be able to have true Torah. Torah like it was mekubel from us doires. Lakewood Yeshiva is standing today at the forefront in the Torah in America. Is bringing over that to all over. And we're trying, now by the Sfaradim also, with the help of the Yeshiva Baruch Hashem, we're able to bring to different communities these Kollelim. So when Rabbi Koshka man, Rabbi Kappenstein came 2 years ago, and they said, we want to open a Kollel, Sephardi Kollel. They showed me the letters they have. I know with the letters, they're not going to raise so much money. The only way we're going to raise money is if we start pledging. And I'll only say because they asked me to say it, I told them, I'm in with some friends of mine, Mr. Tusia, the Gemez and other people, we're in for $50,000. I don't live in Atlanta. I don't know when I'll be back here. Maybe if Coca-Cola invites me for dinner, I'll be here. But if not, I don't see when I'm coming back so fast. But one thing connects us to Atlanta. There is a Sephardi shul. There's Jews here. It could be Sfaradim, it could be Ashkenazim. They need more Torah. And need more Torah means need more Yungalite, more Kollelim. And it's not enough to have a Kollel with 8-10 Yungalite. Bezrat Hashem, we should be able to come back in 5 years. And we should see here 20 Yungalite, 30 Yungalite. And by seeing 20, 30 Yungalite in Atlanta in a few years, no question that all the Balabatim who are here in town, they'll for sure see a difference in their children. Because if we want to have a protection for our children, in today's day and age with all the turbulence that there is out there in the world, there's only one recipe, true Torah. And true Torah is through Kollelim, which brings it to the communities. It brings the ruach, it brings the spirit, it brings the she'ifa, it brings what we're supposed to do like. Our children are only going to be able to grow if they see in front of them not just one rabbi, two rabbis. If they see a kollel, another kollel, more younger lights, more Torah from 7 in the morning till 12 o'clock at night, and by seeing the wives of the younger lights who devote themselves by having their husband sitting and learning. The wives go to the supermarket. The lady comes around, she sees a lady in the supermarket, that has an ashpah, that has an effect on them. That's what we need to bring in town. And therefore, we agreed to do that. And I would like to thank Rabbi Koshka for giving me the opportunity to be able to channel the kochot that we have and the resource that we have to be able to help this community. And Hashem should help us out, Hashem. This college should grow, not just in numbers, but should grow in its echos, in its quality, to be a true mokum from the here. Torah will come out to Atlanta and even further past the walls of Atlanta, all over. And with this should be Zeiche Bekorov to be as Mashiach Tzidkeinu b'meir v'amen, amen.